Thanks everyone for joining us. Joined here by Brandon Smith. If you have a question for Brandon, please use the raise hand feature. I'll call on you to unmute, and then you can ask Brandon your question. We'll start with Audrey Snyder, followed by Ben Jones. Go ahead, Audrey.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Wanted to start off by asking you about Rock Nation. How did that come about, and what kind of opportunities are you looking forward to with NIL?
Really, with that situation, I mean, they reached out to actually a family friend had got contact from them, and they had wanted like us to have like conversation and stuff like that. So like obviously had my parents talk to them first, make sure everything was all right, you know, before I even get involved in it or whatever. Everything checked out. All great people, wise people, and got in contact with them, just basically had general conversation, and then next thing you know, we're here. As far as that second part of your question, I mean, for the most part, it's just mainly looking like not only for like as in like right now, but also business stuff. It's like as far as like real world type situations and stuff. Like everything is more than just what we got going on now, and just me learning from them as far as like the business aspect of everything, and having the many different connections and stuff like that. As far as the people that I'm talking to, it's just a really great opportunity.
Hey, Ben Jones, and then Tyler Donahue. Go ahead, Ben.
Brandon, I kind of want to follow up on that a little bit because Audrey stole my question. What is it like to go from not having these opportunities last year to having to navigate, I know that Rock Nation is not relatively new at this point, but, just to kind of deal with, the business side of things, the personal brand side of things, the fact that you can make money now that you couldn't before. I mean, how do you kind of go from point A to point B, figuring out how to navigate that?
Really, it's more than making money right now. It's like the knowledge and stuff that you gather from talking to many different people and learning their different experiences, and just having general conversation with them on a day-to-day basis is more really valuable than making the money right now. As far as, can you repeat like the second part of your question? Can you repeat the second part?
Yeah, to get unmuted. I mean, just that's that much more on your plate as a student athlete. What is it like to kind of, who do you lean on for advice in that area? How do you kind of navigate, the ability to do all of these things, even if it's just about business decisions or advice down the road? That's just that much more you have to deal with. How do you do that? How do you deal with it?
Really, as far as like spare time and having to deal with many different things, it's really based on how I spend my time and stuff like that. Like I know some things as far as like, school, football, family, and stuff like that, like holds like a higher expectation or whatever. But for the most part, it's not really a hassle like dealing with that type of stuff, to be honest with you. If I know that I want to do something in a particular field when I get out of like my playing career or whatever like that, then that's just something that I have to invest more time in, or either figure out a way how to spend time in that. Like I don't really see it as a hassle, so to say. And I also have like my cousin, he goes to law school at Penn State. He lives with me. I got my parents and other mentors and support systems that help me as well. And we ping pong ideas off each other, as well as talking back and forth with Rock Nation. So it's an all group effort, and I'm not really going through this thing alone.
Okay, Tyler Donahue, followed by Daniel Gallen. Go ahead, Tyler.
Hey, Brandon, congrats on the NIL opportunities. Do want to talk about football, what we saw on the practice field today. We haven't gotten a bunch of opportunities to see you guys in action as a whole defense. Can you describe what you're seeing when that and in a factor for you guys and up front?
Really, Jesse, he brings a lot to the table as far as the mic position, will position, and now going forward, the defensive end position. He's very knowledgeable. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He's a great player. He's a leader in our room, and even a leader in the defensive line room. And really, there's a lot that he brings to the table on the field and off the field with his knowledge. As far as dealing with the different fronts and personnels and stuff like that, I mean, everything. I mean, we've trained many hours for this. We've been going through 16-hour days and stuff back and forth with this type of stuff. I mean, for the most part, we're going to be prepared with whatever we're given.
Hey, Daniel Gallen, followed by Maxwell Dane. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, Brandon, when back to the NIL stuff, when you knew that coming, what was kind of your reaction when you kind of see that coming down the road? And then, now that it's actually here, how does kind of what people were saying about it, what it would, and us right now?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Sorry. Basically, what were you kind of expecting NIL to be like when you heard it was happening, and how does that compare to how it actually is?
Really, when they first came up with the idea of having NIL, I always mess up NIL. Really, I mean, it was just an idea like, oh, we can get paid or whatever like that. But for the most part, there's a whole bunch of different like many rules and stuff like that a whole bunch of people didn't even know about, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't solidified yet. So I knew it was kind of going to be like one of those things where it's just going to just be scot-free. As far as the way I've been dealing with it or whatever, I've been more so on the path with that type of stuff.
Hey, Maxwell Dane, go ahead, and followed by Audrey Snyder.
Hey, Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing good.
So just to flip back to football for a second, after spending a whole season with Jesse Luketa next to you, is it weird not having him next to you throughout the entirety of every practice now, with him kind of switching to D end a little bit? And what's it like having somebody new step up into that role?
Well, really, technically, with my position at first, I was at Sam, which was out in space, and like I had like Ellis and then Jesse. He was on a complete opposite side of the field. So I mean, like he really wasn't, beside me to standpoint. Towards the end of the season, he was when we were like mixing and matching different combinations. But for the most part, it's not really, so to say, like bad not having him right there beside me, because he's given a lot of information within the meeting room as well as on the field and stuff like that. And even him being in that other defensive end position, there's a lot of things that personally I don't have to worry about whenever communicating back and forth with him if I need him to do a particular assignment. So really that helps a lot, him knowing, okay, I have to do this. I usually have to tell the defensive end, this is what you have to do. But since he's knowledgeable about both things, I don't have to particularly worry about that. So it's a win-win situation as far as that comes to play. There's going to be certain situations and times where he may be at will or whatever like that, but still that's out of my hands, out of my control.
Brandon, I wanted to ask you, who's made the most impressive play so far this camp? Who on the defense has stood out, and also how is Curtis Jacobs been adapting to that bigger role that he's getting ready for?
Really, as far as the playmaking thing, we have a whole bunch of playmakers on the defense, as far as not only our defensive linemen, linebackers, and secondary. There's not really one particular person or play that I can really point out that was like spectacular or anything like that, because there's just been so many recently. But for the most part, I mean, everybody's playmakers at this level. Whether it's on offense, defense, special teams. And Curtis, he's definitely stepping into a big role. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's definitely ready for it. There's still like certain situations where he'll ask me, like, hey, would you do this, or am I right doing this? And most of the time when he's basically saying when he's going to do this, it works out. And even I learned from my mistakes that I made in the past with that. So, I mean, for the most part, I mean, he has a good head on his shoulders. He's smart. He's learning. He's asking many questions to myself and Coach Pry, and he's just going to be he's going to be good in that position.
David, if you got a quick one, go ahead and jump in.
Sure. Hey, Brandon. I just wanted to ask you, I think you guys were in Beaver Stadium last Sunday. I'm just wondering, what that was like and what you thought of that. Thanks.
I mean, it was great to be back home. I'll call it home because I mean, it's basically our home, and we got to protect it whenever we go in it or any opponents or anything like that. But it was great being back and great being in the atmosphere again. And really, you can kind of